everyone. Good afternoon, respected faculty, and good afternoon, all students. Welcome to our today's alumni talk on the cloud consulting. Welcome to Siddharth Gautam, who is going to deliver the today's alumni talk on cloud consulting. So I just want to introduce you with the Siddharth Gautam. So Siddharth is an alumni student of Parallel Institute of Technology, and currently he's working as an associate consultant at the Mastech Evosys right now. So welcome, Siddharth. You can
Good
start
afternoon,
with.
everyone. Thanks a lot, Umang sir. Thank you. It's truly an honor. People, please, if someone can confirm I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are audible enough.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible enough.
Yes, perfect. Thanks a lot, Umang sir. It's truly an honor to be a part of this today and to be able to share my insights with a larger audience at large. And thanks a lot for the introduction too. So before we begin with today's session, it would be pretty good if we have the agenda of why we have met today to be very clear, right? So we'll be talking about cloud consulting. Now, I'll be trying to present my perspective from a student's point of view. I wouldn't be speaking as a professional for now, but moreover, I'll be trying to paint a picture what a student can expect from cloud consulting. Because to be honest, it is a role that may not be many people are aware of. Like for all the engineering grads out there, we do know what is cloud, right? And what are the services offered over cloud. That's great. We may not be aware that what's the practical implications of cloud in our day-to-day life and how we can actually make a living out of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this, we'll begin with like cloud consulting, and the very first question would be, what are clouds made of? So yeah, before we begin with anything, I would like someone to share if someone can share that what a consultant is. I don't want to answer right now. It's just I'll give a brief overview of what a consultant is. So you see, a consultant is a person who is perceived as a subject matter expert. So as the name suggests, it's derived from the word consulting, and consulting basically means to be able to provide advice. So a consultant is a person who may be able to take you through your given problem set. So before we dive in any further, I expect the crowd to expect what are the different roles of a consultant are. In cloud, what are the different business verticals that the entire cloud industry is moving forward? Yeah, these are some common etiquette. If there are anything if you have any questions, any doubts, you can put it down in the chat box. So, we can make this a bit interactive. And when we talk about cloud, just as abstract it is very open to ideas. I mean, there is no general term or a relative protocol to be followed for cloud. It's pretty much in general. Okay, so just to look at the agenda on a glance, so we'll be discussing what consulting is. Consulting as a career, like what you can expect as a consultant. We'll be taking a shallow dive into what cloud consulting actually means. And hopefully, we may have a bit of question and answers. So yeah, so we first start with what actually do we mean by consulting. Let's say if I randomly put down a number like 35,000, what first comes to our mind when we say something like 35,000? It could be very arbitrary in terms, you could be very abstract towards your perspective. 35,000 could be your number of users, it could be number of employees, it could be number of nodes, it could be number of devices which is accessing your cloud, it could be number of packets. It's totally abstract. But I want you to focus on the quantity of the number, 35,000. If we see to it in units place, the number running into thousands, this is actually just a glimpse of the cloud's capacity. A cloud can actually support 35,000 users accessing it, 35,000 employees, 35,000 different nodes, and 35,000 mobile devices all at the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the humongous cloud that we are, in the world that we are living today. Okay, so before we move on any further, we need to first understand what cloud is, or rather what cloud computing is. Let's think of it as an answer we can explain it to our younger siblings, right? In simpler terms, cloud computing actually allows us to rent instead of buying our IT infrastructure. Rather than investing heavily on databases, software, hardware, there are companies who opt to access their computer power via the internet or the cloud as we call it. Now, this is really very interesting. We all know that right now India has a very strong to start any startup, plan the IT infrastructure behind it. A couple of years before, or let's talk about the 2000s, we were really enthralled about this question. Let's say we are planning to launch a technology startup, or let's say we have Zomato launched in 2015, right? It has made it big. It has gone IPO with a 75,000 crore valuation. But let's just think we are in the year 2000, right? And we're planning to start a company like Zomato with the same set of services. Now, even back in 2000, we did have the internet. Maybe the technology that's used in Zomato, that's the hyperlocal integration, was not there, but we had Zomato. Someone had a brilliant idea that let me build up an online catalog of restaurants and their menus so that people can go through it, put down the reviews, something very simple. But the idea is good. What makes an idea into an entrepreneurship journey is the planning behind it. The very sudden challenge that the would-be entrepreneur would be facing, let's say if you make an app, perfect, you have made a website, very good. What if this app or this website blows up suddenly? There are thousands and lakhs of people who are downloading your app, accessing your website. What if you don't have substantial IT infrastructure to support it? What if your servers don't have the bandwidth to support it? At last, your entire infrastructure would crash and people wouldn't be able to avail your services, isn't it? Now, how good would it be? Like, you made an application, you first had an idea, you brought it into life with an application, you launched it, people even loved it, but they're not able to access it. Also, to increase your IT infrastructure capacity and strength, you need to invest heavily on that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this was the major problem that the entire startup ecosystem around the world was facing. And this has been solved just because of one abstract word, cloud. Now, let me give you this another illustration to better understand this. Okay, we all know grocery stores, right? The stores on every nooks and corners of the city. These stores, they generally sell everything. It could be your groceries, vegetables, rations, etc., etc. Now, even if, let's say, you are a very big grocery store, you're the biggest in Vadodara, still, it's the belief that every grocery store, even the best one, have a profit margin of only 3%. So let's say, being a grocery store, even if you're serving to the entire population of Vadodara, would you be able to make enough profits? And if you're not able to make enough profits, would you be able to offer deep discounts to continue in market? I'll be giving you an example to build this up better in your mind. Let's talk about Amazon.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Yes, please. I may not be. Did we have anyone? Hello.
Changing is not visible.
Can you please come again? What's not visible, my dear? Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Did we have any concerns or questions here? Okay. Umang sir, can you hear me?
Actually, the thing is, I'm asking you were changing the
Hello, Siddharth sir. Siddharth sir.
Siddharth, you are not audible.
if could may someone confirm if I'm audible or not right now? Okay, so yeah, we start with consulting one all over again. Apologies for the glitches again. Here we're actually talking about what at large we can expect out of cloud. So all of this was just to give you a hint of what are the capabilities of a cloud, right? So when we talk about the cloud services now, they include but are not limited to servers, storage, databases, networking, software analytics, business intelligence. Like cloud computing provides speed, scalability, flexibility, and it enables businesses to develop, innovate, and support business IT solutions. So we won't be going into the technical definition of a cloud, but we will be understanding what a cloud is. So I hope this have actually made clear what the cloud in the business perspective means. Next, let's assume an hypothetical situation that your client has purchased a full ERP cloud suite and the client is not sure of how to actually use the suite. Now, this is where your role as a consultant comes in. To help you understand what an ERP is, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, this is a type of a very specialized software which can be the entire HCM, that's the human capital management, payroll, or IT backbone of your enterprise. So before we dive any further into ERP cloud, that's not the agenda for today, what we met about. So the consultant here would be actually advising the client on how to implement the cloud-based software module. That's one of the aspects of cloud that we call SaaS, that's software as a service. The client would be then, the consultant would be advising the client how to implement the full-fledged software as a service on the client side. Now, please mind it, the software that the client has purchased, maybe it could be from Oracle, it could be from Evosys, it could be from IBM, PwC, it could be from any company. This software is not physically present on databases on site of the customer. So there are two types of software basically. Those are on cloud and another one are on premises. Like the on premises are where you have the databases, where you have the entire installation, the infrastructure on your company's premise. But this one, what we're talking about in software as a service, the entire ERP is actually remotely stored in any database across the world of the company that you brought it from. So if you have, let's say if you have brought Oracle Fusion HCM software for your human capital management resources, so this software is actually stored in any of Oracle's database across the globe, but you could access it from your client side. Okay. So next, as a consultant, just as we're talking a lot about startups, your client wishes to open a new office. Once the new office is active, the client would even be having, hiring new employees there. There would be new resources on the ground, and then you would be required to extend the existing software services to the new office even. Once again here, the consultant comes into. The consultant is the guy who actually plans out the entire migration. Instead, I would say the extension of the present software services and the IT services for the client to its new location even. Okay, so let's talk about what a real life project in cloud consulting what could you expect from a real life project in cloud consulting? So yeah, it's It's not one thing. It's not just that you know the software, you know the client, you know communication. When you talk about implementing a cloud-based software for a client, it's a whole plethora of things that you need to do. From implementation, there's testing, there's cloning, there's data migration, there's a lot. But the best part about it, that all of it could be done remotely. You know, you may be implementing the entire software for the 90,000 employees of your client while sitting at the comfort of your home back here. Of course, there are on-sites to provide better convenience to the client, but cloud has made it possible that we do everything sitting at the comfort of our home as a consultant. So for the ones who don't want to leave their cities, the one who don't want to leave their houses, but still want a respectable job in the IT industry, this may be a calling, guys. Okay, so now we had enough about cloud, right? We were talking about consulting. Now think of consulting as a career. Until now, we know that consulting or a consultant is someone who is a subject matter expert who can advise you on how to build a proper solution, who can actually help you in implementing the solution. But what are the major insights or what are the major checkboxes that you need to have to identify or map yourself as a consultant? First of all, you need to think out of the box. Now, even at today's IT age, we will not have a software that can encompass every aspect or every requirement of a client, right? The client may want a solution which none of the companies are offering, and it happens all the time. I tell you from my own experience, it happens all the time. So the major big companies which offer ERP services, if we talk about Salesforce, we talk about SAP, we talk about Oracle, they all have a fixed based offering. These offerings are huge in their own being, but still always there comes a requirement which is not there in the standard offering, right? But you as a consultant need to deliver to your client. So you need to know thinking out of the box. You need to have this attitude of thinking out of the box, and it actually helps. Now, thinking inside the box. Even this as a consultant is very important. When I say thinking inside the box, it is not restricting yourself from exploring. It's not restricting yourself from presenting your idea. Thinking inside the box in general terms means that you, my guy, are the subject matter expert. When the client comes to you and sees you as a consultant, the client believes you and trusts you that you as an individual knows the entire ecosystem that the Oracle ERP has. All the modules may be HCM, payroll, talent, learn, recruiting. The client trusts you. And as a consultant, it's very important that we know the software we are dealing with. We have a full insight on all the features, all the updates, all the releases. If I talk about Oracle, Oracle tends to roll out releases and updates every quarter. Just recently, we had the Oracle 21C update. Now, as a consultant, it's not like that you have learned the software once and it's good to go. You just can't stay in the market for long. You need to keep updating yourself with all the updates that's coming in. Only then you will be able to know the entire box, and that's thinking inside the box. Problem solving. Now, of course, problem solving is a major challenge. It's one of the major qualities that a consultant should have. Because as a consultant, you need to have this ability so that you can map your client's requirements with the company's offering. We would have better light on this once we go into the system, but let's just keep this in mind that problem solving is one of the major aspects. The client would only come up to you that, hey, consultant, I just need a software using which I can manage all my 35,000 employees and I can make their payrolls. The client would only share these informations with you. But then it's not as simple as it looks like. Working around problems. Now, IT industry is known as the most dynamic and fastest growing industry across the globe. So it may happen that one time your server is actually responding, and simultaneously on the other system the server is not. These are just one of the common problems that a consultant may face. So what's important is that we keep our cool and work on to provide effective resolution to the client. Communication is again one of the most important aspects out of all, because until and unless we learn how to communicate, until and unless we know how to process the client's requirement and how to explain the client, how to actually put down the offerings in place so the client gets an overview and a complete understanding of the software he or she is purchasing, it's never done. So communication is an important aspect, and technology. So this is one thing that you need to have more of as a passion, right? If you're a consultant, you should be passionate about technology. It should be there that you need to have an urge of learning about the updates, not only in your own technological field. If you are working as a techno function consultant, it's not important that you only know about the technological advancements in only your particular domain. It's always good when you know that what SAP is doing with the ERP suite, what Salesforce is doing. It eventually would help you while you're dealing with the client. Okay. Out of my experience, however, it's pretty small, but these are some of my learnings. As a consultant, you need to ask questions. You need to get in the habit of asking questions, because unless until you don't ask questions, we wouldn't be clear ourselves of the requirements that the client needs. Sharpen the axe. Now, this basically means that you need to keep on learning. If we talk about Oracle itself, it has more than 13 lakh features in the ERP suite, and it's not possible for one human being to know everything in it. But then, we can at least keep on trying and keep on recollecting things that we have learned. Give gifts to people. Now, this may seem a bit awkward, but in the consulting domain, this is actually seen as a business etiquette. Because come on, after all, you're not dealing with machines, you're dealing with actual humans, and you're helping them to advance to scale up in technology. So giving out gifts to people, it needs not be very expensive something, it just needs to be thoughtful. This actually adds value. Evolve. Now, evolving is something which might define that you need to have an attitude, you need to have a can-do attitude every time you wake up, right? Every day you wake up, you need to think of yourself that all right, you'll be able to do this. It may have been a problem yesterday, it may have been an issue, but you need to have this attitude that all right, I'll be solving it today. Thinking in value. Now this is important, because when a client comes up to the consultant, it's on the consultant to add value not only to one particular individual, but to the entire organization. When you do an implementation for one organization, it's not for the project manager you're dealing with for the other company. You're dealing with the 90,000, 50,000, or how many employees that organization has. Use Occam's razor. Now, this is actually a personal experience. This would eventually help you when you're on site. Be goal oriented. Given so many jargons going around us, it's very important that we divide our day into module goals. We divide a time that we put into while working into minute goals, so that we define for ourselves that what do we expect of the efforts that we are putting into. And most importantly, trust the team. At any point of time, you need to trust your team. Even if the data migration has failed, you need to trust your data migration guy on this. Blame game is never an option in the consulting career, because if we as consultants start blaming our team of every other mistake, the client would be the one in haywire. The client would have no one to come up to. As a consultant, we need to learn to step up and take responsibility of our team. Okay. So when we talk about an ideal consultant, An ideal consultant is a guy who knows about the technology he or she is working in. Secondly, has good communication skills, is a team player, of course, and most importantly, believes in the work he or she does. Believes that software that they're helping to implement for the client is not just a one-time affair, but it's actually going to affect the entire organization. And organizations these days are huge. This is a question that I would leave down to you. What do you really think? You may think of yourself of all the qualities of a consultant that we have discussed, and what is the main quality that you perceive that you may have, you identify yourself with it, and this would actually help you to plan a better journey for yourself if you're planning to become a consultant. Okay, this one, I just wanted to know how you're feeling, including the context of the session. It may be a bit boring, you may be happy, or just for the sake of attendance. Come on, honest confession, we all have done that, we all have been there. There's no coming back. But guys, what's more important, out of college right now, out of the safe horizons of our university, life is different. Life is not difficult, but it's very happening. While in college, the only important thing that we have is our assignments, maybe the exams. Attendance could be an issue for some. It was for me. Nevertheless, once you are outside in the industry, it's cutting edge. It's either you put in the effort and take the limelight, or someone else would do. It's as simple as that. Okay. So now this is where today we move forward to the next part of the session. I'll be taking you towards one of the modules of Oracle. What Oracle offers, it's the Global HR. It's one of the ERP suites that Oracle offers, that's Global HR. Now, Global HR is basically the human capital management module of Oracle. And this actually helps organizations to map its human capital potential. It encompasses a plethora of features, from onboarding employees to terminating them, managing their grades, promotions, their internal hiring. It could be their internal development, health and safety sessions, everything, all in all, that concerns an employee. All the features are mapped up into one suite that Oracle likes to call Global HR. So, first of all, let's say we all are cloud consultants today, and then there's a client coming up. Let's say the Tata Group. Let's say Tata Steel comes up to us today, and Tata Steel tells you that, okay, Mr. Consultant, I need an Oracle Global HR module to be implemented for my company. Now, we first need to understand, if you remember, ask the right questions. Now, we first need to understand the requirements of the client. Next is the method, like presentation examples, of course. So once we've understood, we make down a roadmap, and then we explain the client. We give a proper insight that what are the features that we would be using specific to Tata Steel, what are the problem areas that we would be defining for Tata Steel, and how can we actually add value and increase the productivity of its entire human capital management workforce. Expectation, having functional knowledge about enterprise structure, which we would be knowing once we go into the system. So, an enterprise structure, I'll be very brief over here. An enterprise structure is, an enterprise is an organization in large terms. So whenever a client comes in, the client is the organization. We divide the client into a logical map, into a sort of a logical hierarchy map. So the hierarchy that we generally use to divide any organization across the globe in Oracle terms is this. The very first globe that comes up, the biggest header is enterprise. Next to enterprise, under the enterprise, divisions are there for every corporation. Under divisions, there are legal entities. Under legal entities, there's something called business units, and then eventually we have our department. So let's say let's talk about Parul University. Let's say we get a call from the management today, and the management wants us to move ahead from the present ERP system, from the Campus Connect ERP system to an Oracle ERP system, and the management wants us to implement it. So we would be dividing the entire organization of Parul University into these given terms. So Parul University is the enterprise here. The organization name, the corporation name that we're talking about, that's Parul University. So yeah, when we talk about enterprise, there are three fundamental structures in enterprise, that are legal, managerial, and functional. So the enterprise could be understood as simple terms is that it's the umbrella organization under which all the departments, everything, the business units, everything comes under. So the umbrella over the entire organization is enterprise. So we try to understand it in context of our university. So Parul University here would be the enterprise. Okay. Now divisions are something which helps us to divide the multiple businesses of Parul University. Now we know, okay, for better understanding, let's make Parul Seva Ashram our enterprise. So Parul Seva Ashram is our enterprise, and the different business verticals for Parul Seva Ashram. First is Parul University, that's one division. Parul Seva Ashram Hospital is another division. Let's say we have another Parul X and XYZ company. So that's the third division. So Parul University, Parul Hospital, these are different divisions under the enterprise Parul Arogyam Seva Mandal Trust. So legal entity. Now legal entities are registered company. Legal entities define something which is registered with the law of the land. To help you understand this better, we have our enterprise as Parul Arogyam Seva Ashram. So let's assume that the entire organization is not paying taxes in the name of Parul Arogyam Seva Ashram. Because of course, why should Parul Hospital pay taxes on behalf of Parul University, and why should Parul University pay taxes for Parul Hospital? So for this, we have legal entities. So Parul University would be having its own tax number and tax registration stuff. So that would be Parul University legal entity. Now this legal entity, that is the Parul University legal entity, would be responsible for all the assets that is owned by Parul University, all the liabilities that Parul University has, all the taxes and government incentives that Parul University has, and the Parul Hospital legal entity would be responsible for maintaining all the assets of Parul Hospital, all the liabilities of Parul Hospital, all the expenses and incomes of Parul Hospital. And these two are different aspects. So this is what a legal entity is. Now we have business units. Now under one enterprise, there can be multiple business units. So if you talk about Parul University, the different business units could be, we have the Department of Events and Media Relations. That's one business unit, because Department of Events and Media Relations is under Parul University, but still it has different set of goals. You know, it's into marketing, it's into events, it's into management and stuff. So that's the operational objective for Department of Events and Media Relations is different. So Department of Events and Media Relations is one business unit. Then we have our internship cell. That's a different business unit. It's still under university, but strategic objectives are totally different. The same goes for Parul Seva Ashram, Parul Hospital. Now, departments. Now, departments are something in an organization where every worker is assigned to. So, if we talk about any random XYZ worker or any XYZ employee, that employee would relate himself or herself to a department, not to a business unit. Now, if we talk about DEMR, if we talk about Department of Events and Media Relations, there may be a worker XYZ. He is working in the Department of Event and Media Relations, that is the business unit, but then he is working there as either a videographer, a photographer, maybe he is working there in marketing, maybe he is working there in lead generation. So that's the department. If we talk about any of our professors, they all are under the academic council, but still they are either in the CSE department, they are in the IT department, in the EC department. This is how we divide it. And under department, we have three different sectors. That's the job, position, and grade. So job is basically what a person like, what are the tasks that needs to be performed in that department. So we need professors in the department, we need HODs in the department. Those are jobs. Positions are what are the seniority of those jobs. So it may be associate professor, it would be a deputy professor, it may be a senior professor, and then grade. Now grade more or less it affects the salary aspect of the job. So let's say if you are an associate professor and you are if you have just joined the organization, the salary that's paid is different to an associate professor who has been there in the organization for the last 3 years. So they are different grades in it. So the one who has newly joined would be in the first grade. The one who has joined a couple of years later would be in a senior grade. So this is how we define the employees present in the organization. If we talk about Evosys at large, so we'll only talk about, if we talk about the entire Evosys, this is just to give you an example of the entire business outlook. So Evosys is the umbrella organization, and under Evosys we have different venues. At present Evosys has 30 different divisions based on geography. So there's Evosys K, so that's a kingdom, Saudi Arabia, Evosys India, Evosys UAE, Evosys UK, and then under every division there are multiple legal entities, right? So that in India, if we talk about it's Evosys Consultancy Services and Evosys Systems Private Limited. There are two legal entities which maintains their own assets, expenses, liabilities, and everything. If we talk about business units and departments, the different departments and business units in Evosys, in one of the legal entities is ERP, HCM and payroll, supply chain management, human capital management, Hyperion, Power BI, and the jobs that comes under every department. It could be consultants, technical consultants, functional consultants, business analysts. Next, we have positions. That is, it could be senior consultant, associate consultant, senior business analyst. So this is just to provide an example of how, as a consultant, you would be mapping up the entire organization on one chart paper. So this is how we first define the legal entity, then we define the multiple business units the legal entity has, and then the different divisions. What are the jobs? What are the departments? What are the jobs in every department? What are the grades and positions? So before we proceed in here, let me give you a glimpse of the actual Oracle software that we work in. Okay. So this, ladies and gentlemen, I've been actually working with a UK-based client, that's Suffolk County Council. Just like we have the state governments here in India, they have county councils back in UK. So it could be seen that we are working for, and we're actually implementing the entire IT infrastructure, the entire IT backbone for one of the state governments of United Kingdom. So for Suffolk, so this is how you could see the entire software looks for Suffolk. So let's talk about what are the features an employee of Suffolk can do this. So this is what it looks like on the client side. So the client would be able to see something like this. So this is the Me tab. Like these are the services the client can perform for himself. The client can check his personal information, what are the current vacancies in the organization. The employee can check his expenses, you know, and the public infos and stuff. There is other features available. There are tax related information. Now this part shows all the features related to the team that employee is working with. So over here, the employee has a manager role. The employee is the manager of the team, and these are the features that he'll be able to see. So he'll be able to see my team who are there in the team. He'll be able to onboard people to his team. He'll be able to raise a hiring request. If let's say if I'm the manager, I think that for my team I need a Java developer, I can raise a hiring request for a Java developer from here, and then the HR team to take it forward. I again have the learning part. Now, learning is something which is for my self learning, for my self understanding, for my self betterment. New persons, if I want to add a new person, now adding a new person is totally different from onboarding and hiring. Adding a new person means that we are adding an already existing employee to my team. Onboarding means we are actually hiring someone who has been hired, and we are taking it up on in our team. If I want to promote any of my employees, then I have the feature here. Next, we have the mind group. Now, my client group is basically the services that I can send clients. Being an employee of support, being team manager, I'm an support. My designation is team manager. So, what services that I can do? So, I could do time management, access, even on the payrolls of all the employees of our company. So, you see, there's a plethora of feature. This grade, job family, position keys, department. I can choose the department of the employee, the grades of the employees, the absences, on what fuel the employee is working on. Like, is it a 9 to 5? Is it a 2 p.m. to 10 a.m.? Which shift the employee is working? Like, everything is definable. This is the benefits and administration tab. This is your own personal workspace where your given schedule will be coming in. So, to give you a brief understanding of this over is, this entire thing is configurable. So when this client Safal came up to us, we first started with understanding the entire organization, how the organization functions, what are the legal entities, what are the business units there, what are the different departments, how many employees it has. Then we moved on designing the organizational structure of Suffolk County Council into Oracle. So this is what we got, and we designed the entire layout. We could actually decide, at the end of the day, we are designing software, so we could actually make out what are the different headers that we had. So to increase the efficiency, we decided to go with this layout, right? Where the first tab, the employee would be able to see features which concerns him. In the second tab, the employee would be able to see features which concerns his team. In the third tab, the employee would be able to see features which concerns all the jobs that he needs to do. He needs to provide for the client. But after all, even Saffold is a company, and he is extending services to other clients that it may have. So yeah, this was what cloud consulting is, and that's all from my side. If there are any questions, I may be open to it.
If anyone have the question regarding, so everyone can ask the question to Siddharth. Okay, I'm connecting to students, Siddharth. So I'm just fetching the questions from the students also. If they have any questions, so I just forwarded to you. So just wait for a 5 minutes.
Sure, sure, sure.
So Siddharth, I think there is a no questions from the viewer side and from the student side right now. So we need to conclude the webinar, right?
Yeah, that would be really great
Okay.
because it has been already very
Yes.
overwhelming.
Yes. So thank you so much, Siddharth, to have yourself over here and sharing a really a valuable knowledge from your side. And belong on behalf of the Pari University, I'm also thanking you for the same. So sharing really the valuable knowledge regarding on that particular topic. So thank you so much, Siddharth.
It has been truly an honor. I would really like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the entire Department of Computer Science and Engineering, CIT, for having me here.
Exactly.
And everything that I am here today, I owe it back to my department. The 4 years that I spent there, it actually adding more value into the professional I am today. So I just hope on in future if you could add back more value to my alma mater. And it's actually a big deal. Thanks a lot for having me today here.
Thank you so much, Siddharth.